The last time I had a view on how the system overlay has been operating, I've noticed that there's been some sort of hyperstatic reactions to the changes in the reality. In other words, things happen, weird weather things happen, animal things happen. Whales lose their magnetic connection. Anything that has to do with the system changes, the overlay changes within its etheric and electromagnetic frequency. It does alter everything else around it. Birds lose their direction. The moral compass, when people are avoiding or neglecting that specific aspect within themselves, you do influence not only your immediate environment, that which is sacred to you, but you also influence that which is around you and those that you come in contact with. And eventually it affects people. People affect people, because essentially the system overlay, as much as it's demiurgic in its existence, as much as it's a type of parasitic thing that rests upon the consciousness of man's mind, soul, and sometimes takes over where there should have been a soul or spirit, it does trigger knock-on effect things around us. After all, mankind is essentially, as we've discussed, the tower or the building block or the most important key that supports this reality. And many times the potential of what is within the mind, body, soul, and spirit is lost. And often enough, people forget how to materialize what they're looking for, what they're striving to experience or explore. And what I'm seeing from the outside into this world is that the reality in which the many who are living within, carefully trying to not become sucked in from the system overlay as it's busy bunching up and contracting and bunching up and contracting, because I can see and feel literally how the system overlay is having an absolute reaction to many people who are becoming aware of what it is. And I want to say, be mindful how you respond to it, because that you don't just cut off everything, every single thing that is alive. For example, the nature around you. The nature around you could be your immediate environment, as I've said, there where your heart is, within you, when you are within your space, your sacred space, and you are reminded of that love, that gratitude, that which you can say thank you for within yourself, of course. Once you're able to access that space within you, you're then securing your reality bubble, or your pocket reality, as I like to say it, pocket reality within the system overlay, as it's busy having a absolute cadenza as we speak. And it does create splintering of things, of the electromagnetic and etheric fabric in which this reality exists. Because essentially, originally, once upon a time, let me put it that way, the creation required a tool, a technology, which I used to call Metatron, the technology as a Metatronic cube, the technology itself, not the archetypal beliefs of what it was or what it represents as a very important tool to have to perpetuate creation, so that things would go forward, so that things would materialize within this reality. However, it essentially then became basically interfered with. And I've spoken about this before, where I said I think it was, I used the word hijacked, but the word hijack is like so, it doesn't really give you the true meaning of the capacity of the damage that has been done with certain people that have decided to basically control that thing. And many timelines or years or lifetimes stretch after the actual interference itself had then essentially altered timelines. And the Metatronic element or the tool was then utilized to bend and replicate timelines. And all these timelines create repercussions in the experience within each and every being that exists within this reality. And so the more there is a focus on actually shattering this process, like I felt I actually had a dream a day ago where I saw how the fabric of the system overlay was busy shattering, but that the shattering that creates all these very sharp shards or sharp bits that come off of the, as it shatters like glass, can be detrimental. I mean, obviously it can pierce you. So your emotional energy is required to be managed when you are experiencing something, that you don't just, like, you know, when you run on the field and you're on your way to get to the winning line, and you suddenly see it right in front of you and you start getting hyper excited because you want to get it done. And it's that's when you forget that you should focus and not trip over your own feet and then fall down before you hit the finishing line. That sort of thing. It's not really happened to me before as a youngster, but it does tend to just, you know, slow down. You know, don't try and complete the egg race as they've been playing the eggs out in this timeline as well. They've been using the egg as a type of rebirth symbol, and I've been speaking about the eggs now for freaking long. I want to say centuries, but anyway, you guys know me only for so many years in this lifetime. And so they want to try to hatch a new reality. They want to try and hatch a new universe. Like I said, remember now, back in the day, these fools who are worshipping the system overlay or demiurge or whatever its name is these days, or Yaldabaoth, or whatever its name is. It has many names, you know when they say I am legion, for I am many, and the same thing applies for I have many names. It's, call it whatever you want. That is the virus that's infecting the consciousness of the original materialization process, like a oil spill on the seawater. That's basically how I'm sharing with you my thoughts. And then, then of course, when the egg comes along, then obviously there's going to be the feminism thing that's going to be linked to it, because seriously, it's very predictable that they can't do one without the other. So then they'll try and darken the feminism or they'll bring up this dark feminism thing, and so they all these things just all run in a loop with one another. They all connect with one another. It's kind of obvious. I mean, you can see Jordan Peterson's stuff where he keeps posting these things. I swear, I think he's like a poster child for them, because his stuff that he posts are very timely or timed with certain events that happen. And I've noticed when he was doing something about feminism that seems to be like the off-colored. Obviously, he's using it to explain that feminism is really he's addressing the actual thing itself, but he's not really looking at it from a much deeper metaphysical perspective. When I say, so let me tell you what the dark feminism is, it's actually masculine. But it's not masculinity that's toxic, it's the masculinization of the feminism, or the feminist, or the feminine principle. And feminism is a masculine principle, is a man-made principle for polarizing feminist or feminine principles, as in the creation. So in other words, let me make it simpler for you. We have masculine and feminine principles within us. Masculine principle is to create and materialize what we then think, which is then feminine, which is the feminine principle. And so male and female work alongside one another within your conscious thoughts, and then your actions and your experience through your heart, if you're doing it correctly, is then the child of, or the product of, the male and the female coming together in communion. And so what do you get when you get feminists, or feminist, or dark feminist, or whatever the hell it's called these days, whatever dark lady, is reference to, obviously also correlating to the moon, which is also now quite, which we've just gone through. But at the same time, the dark feminist principle is, according to the norm, or the majority, that it is based on women not needing men. That's the baseline for it, and so many other parts to it, which I'm not going to go into because my subject is not about that. If your creation is dark, which means it is, if it is darkened to the at the cost, and then your creation is at the cost of others, then you're looking at vanity, you're looking at narcissism, you're looking at all of those counter emotional stuff that comes afterwards on a psychological level. And in the same thing, as I was saying about Jordan Peterson, which I think he's the poster child for mostly everything that seems to be timed. Every time he does a video, there's a timed element to his work. I mean, now I've just seen the notification. Yeah, and I'm subscribed to the guy because I'm actually looking at everything. You've got to have a look and see what he's been doing, and you look at things outside in the world, and you see they kind of correlate. Then again, I could have told you that that's exactly what it is, because once you start to give up yourself towards a reality that exists for your material existence, then you will become a slave or a minion or a minister of material news, of news for magic, however you want to use it. And I see now it's going to be climate change. So I can almost make a prediction and tell you that, so now it's going to be not just the climate change, it's going to be weather stuff, all kinds of anomalies that's going to now suddenly pop up, and people are going to see weird stuff in the sky. Not that it's not happening, but every time, but it does correlate with old Peterson's stuff. And so You can find these guys. They are basically everywhere. Um, they basically chime the movement of the timelines. And so basically what I want to say to you, I want to take with me today, as well as want to share with you, is focus on the simple love parts within you. If you don't know how to smile at yourself, then start practicing smiling at yourself. Don't have to do it in front of a mirror, but that would be a start before you learn to start exploring loving yourself. Until next time.